Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Linda. If you're not new here, welcome back and thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you're new here, I make videos about life in Canada, and as you can tell in today's video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I did a career switch from economics to accounting and when all of that happened, and I'm gonna share about what kind of steps I took to kind of help me successfully make that career switch. And I think this is a very important video, especially for international students, because sometimes when you are an international student in Canada, you may find that the degree that you studied in is not necessarily lucrative for finding a job or a career or being able to stay here longer, especially when it comes to applying for permanent residency. For those who are interested, the immigration body generally tends to have a set of specific roles that they think are sort of eligible for permanent residency application. So some roles you could be in that role for 3 years, but based on the immigration website, they might not necessarily see that as beneficial for the Canadian economy. So I just wanted to kind of share a bit about what I decided to do while keeping in mind how to get a job that's gonna allow me to get a PR, what kind of jobs are out there in terms of the labor market as well, which I think every international student kind of goes to that point in their either academic career or just their career planning, to say, you know, am I in the right industry? Is there gonna be enough money once I graduate? Will I be able to stay? Does immigration deem this kind of skill or the degree in this industry beneficial for the economy, and so on and so forth. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get into the video. When I graduated, I initially thought I would take my economics degree and I would use that to find a job in banking. And I had spoken to a few, people who were already in the banking industry, and they were like, yes, people who study economics tend to come into banking, so it should be easy for you to get something entry level. So my plan was to go into banking, and after working in banking for a bit, or after I'd like settled down in my job, I would then start taking, I forget the full name, but it's called CSC courses. And so these are like courses that you would take in banking if you wanted to become a financial advisor, or you wanted to become like a loan officer. There's different paths for different there's different courses for different career plans. And my main plan at that time was I was gonna work as a financial advisor and work my way to the top and become like a very successful wealth management or asset management person or manager in general. So that was the plan. And on top of that, what was important, of course, was because I had graduated, I also wanted to gain my permanent residency. So it was important to find something or a job that would help me balance those two. So be able to get my permanent residency while working, and also work my way towards this wealth management career that I wanted to build. So unfortunately, like most 2020 graduates, I graduated right into the pandemic. So there was the whole COVID thing, and at that time, one of the things that I was struggling with, there was obviously a lot of issues, but one of the main ones was there were not a lot of banking opportunities. So I had networked, I had talked to people in banking, I had talked to HR members of like in banking, so people who could honestly help me get a job. But unfortunately, they themselves were telling me that we're not really hiring at this point because of COVID, because of the pandemic. It's difficult for us to bring someone on board because their entire sort of hiring process is very hands-on. Like I would have to be in person. Like, it's not a thing you can do online. You need to be in the bank working with people face to face. And as we all know, at that time, no one really understood how COVID was working. Everyone was just, trying to distance themselves and try to keep a safe distance. So I got a lot of that in a lot of like my conversations with people. They were like, we really would love to hire you, but we're just trying to figure out how to keep our own current workers safe. And so hiring is not really at top of mind right now because we're all in the middle of pandemic, and we're just trying to figure out how to offer banking services online or without people having to come to the branch, or if people want to come to the branch, how do we make sure that they feel safe to do so. So I got a lot of no's. And the other issue that I was struggling with, or challenge that I had at that time, was so I didn't have a job, and this was around February, so it had been like around 2 months since I had graduated, because I graduated in December. January I was chilling, decided to just do nothing for 4 weeks, just enjoyed just doing nothing, and then in February I kind of started looking for jobs. March, same thing, was still very quiet, got no responses, nothing promising. But another thing that I was struggling with at this point was, it was March, so 3 months into it, and I had savings, but my savings were, they were starting to get to a point where I can, like, you can notice that your money is going down. Like, you've spent 3 months with no money to replace the savings that you had saved. So the good part is I had already saved for life after graduation, and I think I had saved enough money to cover like 7 months of living. But still, it was very scary to just see that I'd spent 3 months of my savings, and it's not like I had a job coming up in April, or a specific job that was promised in May. I was still looking for a job. So it was kind of scary, because I was like, you're eating into your savings, but we don't know when you're going to be able to get income to replace that. And the last thing that I really was struggling with at this point was, I had this idea in my head that I'm gonna work in banking, and I'm gonna work, and really do well and build a really good career in wealth management. And now I was kind of faced with this idea that maybe you need to be open-minded. Like, maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you've been applying to so many banks, but it's not working. You're not getting any callbacks. Like, you have to take a step back and see where else you can apply to. So that's when I started opening up to just see what other finance positions are out there. And that's when I came across I noticed there were a lot of accounting roles, like so many accounting roles. And I remember thinking, I should have studied accounting because clearly everyone wanted an accountant. In the middle of a pandemic, they were hiring accountants. And so it became very clear to me that if I had an accounting degree, I would have a job at this point. I applied to all kinds of jobs, and I guess in me searching and just looking for anything and everyone who's hiring, where I felt like I could offer something for that role, I came across a bookkeeping role at a startup company called Bench. I'm gonna put their logo here. It's a great company. It's a lovely startup company, great culture. Everyone is pretty much like flexible and young and open. It was a very interesting first job to get, to be honest. But above all, they really are, working hard in becoming one of the best bookkeeping companies in, I want to say, in Canada. Well, they're based in Canada, but their clients are mostly American, or at least at that time when I was working. So I get this job, and it says, we're looking for people to do bookkeeping. We don't want people who are trained. So if you don't have any experience, that's even better. So I go, okay, this is good. So I applied for the job, and I mean, best decision I've ever made, to be honest, because I was training with people who had never done accounting, and they were just like, I'm here because the job said, we're looking for people with different backgrounds, different working backgrounds, because we're going to teach you how to bookkeep, we just want to make use of whatever other experience you have. So some people were saying I was working in the hotel industry, and so they like that, like the company liked that, because you then it means if you come across a client who runs a hotel business or of some sort, you'll be able to sort of connect with them better because you have that common thread between you. So I start this job as a bookkeeper, and I really start enjoying it. I get trained on it, and and the good thing is they have a really good support system when it comes to training. And so once you feel confident, then they would give you real clients, like your own real clients to work with. And so that was my first job after university. Was I went from studying economics to having a portfolio of clients of like, I started with like maybe 15-20 clients that I was doing bookkeeping for. And obviously by the time I started working with them, I was like confident in my skills and I knew what I was talking about, I knew what I was doing. And obviously if I didn't know, there was always someone on my team to support me. So that was actually my first job out of university. So a completely different job than what I thought I would be doing. I thought at that time I'd be working in banking, as I mentioned. So that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I'm doing something very different from what I studied, and I need to figure out what that means for me now. So while I'm working as a bookkeeper, I noticed that my clients were really great clients. I'm trying to figure out how to say this without like making it sound bad. But what I noticed is, if let's say for example, if I had a client and I was talking to them about something, like let's say I said, hey Mr. Smith, your books are ready for the year. We've done all the bookkeeping, we've reviewed it, it's all good to go. You can use these numbers that we have to file your business taxes. Not a lot, but some clients would respond to that email and say, thank you, could you please send me the books and I will show them to my accountant, and my accountant will review them, and then we will let you know if there's any feedback. And can you do this prior so that we have time to do that, and then I also have time to file. And so I started getting a lot of these, not just me, but everyone in like my team would sometimes mention these like similar email responses. And so it became very clear to me that a lot of people who own businesses value accountants. So it was always like a, thank you so much for doing the bookkeeping, but now I'm going to pass on the work that you've done and I'm going to give it to an accountant that I pay, and they're going to look at it and let me know if everything is good. And then once they give us a thumbs up, we can go ahead and file those business taxes. So it became, quite clear that they really value accountants. So then I started looking into accounting because I'm like, okay, so what's the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant? And so through research, there's definitely some differences. A bookkeeper is the one that just records every single journal entry and transaction that happens, whereas an accountant can do that, but they also have the ability, or if they're experienced of course, they can also go in and sort of have the skill to look at your numbers, your expenses, and figure out a way to help you have a very low tax payable, which is always very good for business owners, whereas a bookkeeper cannot do that. I cannot give you tax advice. So after like reading and researching, I realized, okay, so accountants understand business taxes, they understand tax law and tax codes, whereas I don't. I just know how to journal or record those transactions, but an accountant is able to look into each and every financial statement and say, well, this was not done properly, or there's another way to actually do this in a better way where it's still, like following tax code, but it will allow you to maybe pay less, or you can take advantage of this benefit and such and such. And obviously as a bookkeeper, I don't know that. So after I realized, okay, accountants know more than bookkeepers, that's when I decided I want to be an accountant. So after I made that decision, I then spoke to my manager at the bookkeeping firm, and I just kind of explained that, I think I want to pursue accounting. And unfortunately, again, as I said at the beginning, the company is well known, and like they're doing very well in the bookkeeping space, and so they didn't have opportunities for bookkeepers in the company who now wanted to pursue accounting, because that was not their specialization. Bench's specialization is actual bookkeeping. So then I kind of had this conversation, and she was like, okay, let us know how we can support you so you feel ready to sort of make that jump into accounting and all of that. And honestly, I think that's what also helped, is they were very supportive, because I started accounting school after doing some research and realizing that if you want to be an accountant, you should have an accounting degree, or you should have an accounting diploma, or at least that's how it works in Canada. And so I had to check out my entire degree of 4 years. I don't want to say it's useless. I get, to be honest, it doesn't. Accounting, economics, very different things. So with that said, I started school, and luckily my manager was also able to be like, okay, let us know if you need us to support you, or maybe you might need to take a day or two for an exam while you're taking your courses. And so that was really great. They really helped sort of, help me confidently start into this accounting career switch that I wanted to do. And then, so I worked there, and after I finished, I think I worked there for like a year, and then I started school. And then after that, I got a job in accounting, my first junior accounting role, and I was working in accounts receivable. So I was doing all the accounts receivable for a parking service company. And so that was my very first accounting role, even though the bookkeeping job helped me. Like, it made it easier for people who were looking for junior accountants to hire me, because they were like, okay, you've been in bookkeeping, so you understand journal entries and most of the accounting jargon that gets thrown around. So that was good. And then I worked there for maybe about 7 months, and then now I work in another accounting role where I work in accounts payable now, because I felt like I'd done AR and I got an idea of what AR is all about, and now I'm doing accounts payable, which is basically you're in charge of making sure that all vendors and suppliers that work with the company are paid on time, and then deal with any other admin stuff that has to do with that. So yeah, that's how I ended up switching from economics to accounting. So this is what I did to sort of make that switch. Was it scary? Yes. Even making this video is a bit scary, because technically I feel like I should make this video when I'm actually like a CPA. That's when I can say, oh, I officially switched from economics to accounting. But I just thought, what, let me share this, because I think a lot of international students get to a point where it's like, is what I'm studying worth what life is going to be outside of the university experience? And so I have that experience where it's been like, I studied 4 years of economics, and then I came out, and unfortunately, again, I don't necessarily think COVID was the only factor. I think, to be honest, there's a lot of economics graduates that I've met who also work in accounting. So a lot of economics graduates switch to accounting just because the money is better, and there's just opportunities for growth are higher. And not to like say economics is not a worthy degree. I wouldn't suggest or recommend anyone to study economics, by the way, but I still learned a lot. Like, I'm grateful for that whole 4-year degree that I got, which helped me understand economics, understand how the economy works, how the government thinks, and all of that stuff. But it obviously was not helpful in terms of finding a job after university, which is what is important, right? Like, you spend 4 years in a university to try and get some sort of job, right, and be able to pace yourself up. So I guess I'm just trying to say that if you want to change your career, do it. And if it means moving to a different province, do it. If it means going to school, do it. I'm doing it. Is it easy? No, it's not. It's obviously going to be challenging because you have to balance your time with work, school, and everything else that's in between. So yeah, but you can do a career switch for sure. It's going to be scary, but if you do the right research and figure it out, I think it's worth it. So let me know if any of you guys have done career switches while you were like in Canada and trying to figure out what makes more sense, PR wise, what makes more sense, you know, salary wise and all of that stuff. Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if you want to hear more like videos or content about accounting and what it's been like for me. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you haven't yet, please do hit the subscribe button. Please also hit the notification button so that every time I post a video you will get a notification. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.